In 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
All right, everybody. Hello, Kufar Akbar. Welcome to another Sunday edition of the Crossing the Crescent discussion group. This is a live stream show dedicated to rightly dividing the truth between Christianity and Islam. I'm the host, Eric Zekafer, coming to you live from the cabinet steps of the Kaf Cave in Dal Ahar, Kafiristan. And we are supposed to be here every Sunday at 5 p.m. Central Standard Time. That's Chicago time. It would be 6 p.m. New York time, and out on the West Coast, they're usually an hour or two behind us. But anyway, we haven't been here for the last month. It has been that long. Last week was Mother's Day. The week before that was my daughter's birthday, and we had a big celebration for her. And then the 2 weeks immediately preceding that, I have like a side hustle that I do. I'm a woodworker. I make things. And this is kind of like the prime part of the season where I'm just so busy. And I was so far behind on orders, making, delivering. I just couldn't get to the show. And I apologize for that, but that's just the way things roll. We're going to try to be here a lot more consistently here in the future. This Friday is the last day of school. So summer is upon us. And we're going to have all kinds of time. We might even switch the show up to go in the middle of the week. I don't know. We'll have to consult our guru, our local guru, radical moderate, Robert Wells, whether or not we can do that. Because a lot of it's driven by whether because I just love his participation, and whether he can participate or not kind of drives the show. Not that Issa's not important, I'm not saying that, Issa, but Rad contributes a lot of the stuff off scene, and I appreciate that for you understanding. But Rad contributes so much off the air to the show, and when he can't make it, it just makes it hard on all of us. Okay, so today we're going to talk about 3 different subjects. First off, we're going to talk about the Southern Poverty Law Center and why that's important to this guy, or their demise anyway. The second thing we're going to do is we are going to run through or try to critique the Anthony Rogers C.L. Edwards debate, and the debate topic was the historical Jesus. Let's see, did the historical Jesus, here we are. Did the historical Jesus teach that he is God or only a prophet? And they actually, C.L. Edwards actually had a debate on it. And if you don't know who C.L. Edwards is, look this clown up. He is an asshat from from 10 years ago. He is so, and we'll get to him. And then lastly, yesterday, yeah. Lastly, the last thing that we're going to get to is, if we have time, is Unite the Kingdom rally that they had yesterday in London. Thousands and thousands of people. I'm just going to read you. I went in and I did a Google search on this, and here's some of the headlines. Now listen to the headlines. The headlines will tell you what they're trying to do in the UK to people who would dare to criticize their government. They had the headlines that say it all. Okay, Reuters, thousands march in London's Unite the Kingdom far-right rally. CNN, Tommy Robinson, Britain's hard right on the march as tens of thousands descend. The Guardian, this is CBS, thousands hit London streets for Unite the Kingdom march. CBS, nothing about far right or anything. CBS, way to go. I probably am not reading the entire headline. The Guardian, UK. Tens of thousands marched through London for far right and pro-Palestinian protests as it happened. Tens of thousands joined rival marches, that's the BBC, in London. 31 arrests have been made across the Unite the Kingdom march and pro-Palestinian protests. Unite the Kingdom rally in London. Unite the Kingdom rally. Thousands joined Tommy Robinson. Police arrest. Oh, here's another headline by The Guardian. Police arrest 43 at Unite the Kingdom and pro-Palestinian officers allegedly. Oh, here we are. This is the part that I wanted to read. Officers were allegedly racially abused at Tommy Robinson March, which failed to draw as huge numbers as it was hoping for. Thank you, Guardian, for being so pathetically flippin' honest. And notice it, allegedly racial. Yeah, these guys are going to go there and they're going to start throwing racial epithets at people. You people are flippin' so shallow. You call them far right. You call them race. Go ahead. Go on ahead. Call us Islamophobes. Call us whatever the hell you want to do. It has no impact, and it means nothing. It means nothing to us anymore. Because number one, and most importantly, it's not true. But I'm not even saying even if it was true, because it's not true at all. And it doesn't, so, what are you going to do? You're going to scare me by calling me a racist? You're going to call me a Islamophobe? It's not true. So shut the hell up. I don't care what you say. You have no credibility anymore. So I'm not going, we'll deal with that when we get to it. The thing that I wanted to deal with initially was the SPLC. Now, the reason why I have a bone to pick with the SPLC is because they have labeled me, not me personally, but the organization that I broadcasted from, a hate group. When I initially started, I started off on a radio network called the Patriot Radio Network. Now, the Patriot Radio Network had been previously called Radio Jihad, and it was just a guy, Vito Esposito. He gets 7 people broadcasting one show each day of the week, and some of the people were labeled hate preachers, hate whatever the hell they wanted to do. And so being affiliated with them, the SPLC labeled them a hate group. So the phone number, this is the funniest thing, and I'm going to say it because it's no longer on Blog Talk Radio, because Blog Talk Radio doesn't exist anymore. But the funniest thing is that these clowns said that they were from upstate New York. And the only reason why they said they're from upstate New York is because that was the area code that they broadcasted from, Radio Jihad, which that was a Blog Talk Radio phone number. It's just so silly how shallow the SPLC is in the research on these groups, or people that they labeled hate groups. And then in addition to that, when it changed over to the Patriot Radio Network, which was under a new umbrella, They still labeled it a hate group, but it had a 319 area code. So when I joined it and started broadcasting on it, I said I was broadcasting from Cedar Rapids, Iowa. I was a teacher in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, and thus all the haters were going to, get me fired from my teaching position in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. And I got all these emails from the imam from Houston and from our friend Marshall Gregory, which we haven't heard from in a long time. Brad, are you here? Can I bring you up on stage? You can bring yourself up on stage if you want. There you go. We haven't heard from Marshall in quite a while, have we?
I haven't. You said, have you?
I haven't. I think
I haven't. Since we used to talk all the time, but I haven't.
I think he's in jail, to be honest with you, because the last I heard that he was arrested and he was sent. That's what I think.
Remember that he beat up that other homeless guy, and the other homeless guy happened to be in his 60s. So he got charged with beating up a senior citizen, which carries like a minimum 5 years prison sentence in Florida.
Really? Whoa. Yeah, don't hit them senior citizens down there. Well, I guess he's learning the hard way. And then the last one is our friend Charlie Doyle, and we haven't heard.
He's in the insane asylum.
Yeah, he's somewhere. I don't know where he is, but as long as he ain't here, I'm down with that struggle. But anyway, here's the deal with the Southern Poverty Law Center, Southern Poverty Law Center. They are under indictment. These guys have millions and millions of dollars parked offshore. What type of nonprofit parks millions of their dollars in offshore accounts? One that is not legitimate. That's number one. And people should have realized this from the beginning. They weren't a legitimate organization. But number two, they would label anybody that was from a right-leaning political bent or religious bent as a hate group. Franklin flipping Graham, they considered hate preacher because of his position on homosexual marriages. Franklin Graham.
They also had what was his name? I can't think of his name now. The Hebrew what do you call it? Messianic Jew, the guy on the radio. He debates people. Dr. Michael Brown.
Michael Brown. Come on.
They had him and his ministry as a hate group. But he sued them. They threatened the lawsuit.
Well, okay. So what they did by paying. Okay, so you have a group that's dedicated. This shows you how far we have come. This is a good thing as a country. It shows you how far we have come as a country in our racial divide, where you have to pay people to gin up racial hatred so you can generate more money in donations so you can fight racism in our country. It does not get any clearer than that. And this is what happened with this organization. But again, here's the second reason why the third reason why I have a problem with the SPLC is because when the imam from Texas, Kenny Bomer, continually threatened me in my position as a teacher, as an educator, saying that he's going to show up and he's going to report me for being a hate preacher, being a member. Oh, Danny Davis is here. Hey, brother, it's good to see you. When he was continually saying that, labeled me as a hate preacher, he says, I'm going to contact CARE, who has been designated as a terrorist organization by several states in our country, and I'm going to have the Southern Poverty Law Center representative there. So you have two groups that have been they are defunct and debunked as being what they are, and that is peddlers of hate themselves. And they try, and in the process, they're trying to silence people who would dare to criticize Islam. So they got what they're coming to you. And I want to show you an email that this clown sent me. And I think you're CC'd in this, Rat. As a matter of fact, I think this is one to you. Do I have your permission to show it?
You know what's funny? I was going in. I deleted like a bunch of emails from them clowns, dude. Yeah, so I don't. Yeah.
Do I have your permission to show this?
Yeah, go ahead. Sure.
Well, even if I don't, it's too late. It's right here on the screen. Okay. Now I'm not sure, is this too rad? Kenny Bomer wrote, let me explain this to you. I do not fear that you're trying to intimidate with me, not in the least. Who is this? I think this is to you, but this is what he's saying here. Now go sit down in your corny behind down in the corner. He likes telling me to sit down in the corner. Remember I told Connie that? Go sit down in the, shut up. You don't scare me in the least. I'm simply sick of your big mouth nonsense. I've had nothing wrong to Chris, Eric, or anyone else. Is that the best that you could have to represent your religion? No, of course not. There are many decent Christians in the world. You simply are not one of them, so bring the noise. When someone blatantly tries to attack me, I take issue with that. And son, you do not want to push me into plat and plan mode. I don't know what is plat and plan mode? What does that mean? Plat and plan.
Flop.
What? What does that mean? Doesn't matter. Okay, because you will
Sorry, but it's plot and plan mode.
Okay. Okay, plot and plan. Oh, plot. Yeah, okay, got the A there. All right.
This is the imam. This is the imam speaking.
This is the guy whose show you were on, Isa.
Sheikh.
I would say, stay away from him.
Sheikh Imam.
This is who he really is. I mean,
when was this email sent?
Well, I would tell people you need to stay away from this guy. Don't give him any type of credibility. And the next thing you know, everybody, he's debating David Wood, and and then you got Charlie Doyle debating God logic. I'm thinking, what are you guys doing? You guys are giving these guys. You don't know who these guys are. These guys, what they did to me. But here's what he says.
Wait, Eric. When was this sent? When was this email sent? Refresh my memory.
This is 2020. This is.
This is after he's threatened all of us, and especially you.
Yeah.
Doxing and he's saying, I've treated you all very well. This dude is this is psychotic. He said, read out that first part that you were reading. I've done nothing to Eric or Chris Claus or, yeah.
Yeah. But look what he says. He says, I will be watching, let's see, because you will be watching news footage from Cedar Rapids with my face on there, backed by CARE, and look at it, Southern Poverty Law Center, and numerous Muslims from that community. So here you have somebody that is threatening me, or my job, and he's threatening to bring in CARE, Council on American Islamic Religions, and the Southern Poverty Law Center. What happened here? What is going on?
Can I ask a question about this? Because there's something that is...
Brad, can you fix this? What is going on with the screen here? Did I do something? There we go. Thank you.
Go ahead. What's your question?
I have a question because I keep hearing this and it's kind of shocking to me. So what I know about CARE is it's pretty positive. Like, it's just like an organization that does like Muslim events and has, like fundraising.
You think that CARE is pretty positive? Is that what you said?
I mean, that's my experience with CARE. I've never seen, the stuff that I've been hearing about CARE is nothing I've known about CARE, at least in Philadelphia. This is shocking, the kind of information I'm hearing about CARE. You know what I mean? So it's a little bit, I was surprised to hear any of this stuff. I've never heard any of these things, litigation or any of this stuff.
Okay, do you know that CARE is an unindicted co-conspirator in the Holy Land money laundering trial? They were a co-conspirator in laundering money to send to Hamas. Are you aware of this?
I mean, the only thing I know about CARE is they do Muslim events and it's.
Well, that's what they want you to know. But in the background, what they do in the background is the key thing. They encourage Muslims not to talk to the FBI or any investigation. These guys are flipping evil, Isa. I don't know.
I can only speak to what I know, and that's
okay.
So it's shocking. That's why I'm asking. It's this is shocking. This information is kind of very shocking to me because the only thing I know about CARE is it's pretty positive. It's just like kind of more like liberal Muslims and just living in America and supporting Muslim events. Like all this other stuff, I've never heard about it in my life.
Okay, well, and because the news is afraid to report it, because if you report it, what are you called? An Islamophobe. Oh my gosh, you don't want to be an Islamophobe. Why aren't people? Why isn't the national news 10 feet deep in the ass of those Somali Muslims up in Minneapolis for fleecing the taxpayers of Minnesota and the United States of billions, literally billions of dollars, minimum millions, hundreds of millions, because they're afraid of being called racist. Number one, don't call me a racist. Oh my God, because or an Islamophobe. That's the first thing that they do. Oh, you're just a racist. You're an Islamophobe. No, you're a thief. They try to do everything but address the facts. They deflect, and this is exactly what CARE does. CARE is a terrorist supporting organization. They've raised money and had it sent to them Hamas holes in Gaza so they can attack Jews. That's what CARE does. Now, if your experience with CARE has been, positive, power to you, and that's what they want to do. That's what the main thing they want to do. They want to present Islam in a positive light.
And that's why I'm asking, because that's the only kind of like the CARE. Like I know the president here in Philadelphia, like he's like a really nice guy. And then one time they had a Jewish guy as the president. So like,
what?
They had a Jewish president. His
Who
name was
did CARE?
Yeah, Jacob Bender, a president of I think maybe the Philadelphia region. But yeah, the president of CARE was a Jewish man named Jacob Bender. You can look it up.
The president of the local CARE in Philadelphia.
I think so. Let me see. I don't even know if it could have been national, but I don't know.
No, I can promise you it wasn't Jew. I'm gonna grok this. I find that so unbelievable that I gotta fact check.
Yeah, it's here. I have the link here too. I have the link here too. Yeah, here it is. I'll send you the link too, so you can see it.
Hold on, I'm Philadelphia.
Here, I'm gonna private chat you too, if that's cool.
President.
Here we go. There you go. So it's right there. That's how you spell his name.
Jacob Bender, a Jewish American activist and filmmaker, served as executive director of CARE Philadelphia from 2013 to 2024. He was the first Jew and non-Muslim to lead the CARE chapter. So I'm going to have to look and see who this Jacob Bender is. I would submit, this is just me thinking, this Jacob Bender is a non-practicing Jew. Any practicing Jew would not have anything to do with CARE.
But you see, this is why I'm saying, like, this is what I know about CARE. Like, I know this very kind of very positive light where it's very interfaith oriented. So it's like shocking when I hear these things. I'm like, these accusations, I'm like, oh, I've never heard any of this,
Yeah, this, you need to do some digging and find out where the roots of the organization. I mean, they have so many of their founding members went to prison for sponsoring terrorism. As a matter of fact, they had to change their initial organization because their initial organization was given a label of a terrorist organization. So they changed it to CARE, and now those people that changed over to CARE that were the original founders, they went to prison. They were labeled an unindicted co-conspirator in the Holy Land Money Laundering Foundation trial that sent that blind sheikh or whoever the heck it was to prison. They were designated as a unindicted but they were a co-conspirator.
Are you talking about Ghassan Alasihi, Al-Alaishi, Abdurrahman Al-Mudi, and Randall Todd Royer? I think you're talking about these.
Yabba Dabba Doo and Yabba Dabba Who. I don't know what their names were, but that's exact. I mean, they're the blind sheikh who was the planner and the leader of the first World Trade Center attack, where they put that bomb underneath the World Trade Center and lit it off and killed I don't know how many people and injured hundreds other. That guy. They were part and parcel of his organization. So when we start talking about CARE is not your friend. They've been designated a terror organization by the UAE. For the UAE, the United Arab Emirates, UAE, says that they're a terror organization. The state of Florida, the state of Texas, other states have designated them as terror organizations. So, there's a reason for that. So I'm not gonna get down on you anymore than that. But I can just tell you that they're not this Jacob Bender, whoever this guy is. I can almost guarantee you that this Jacob Bender guy is probably from the same cloth as APAC, or not APAC, but what do they call it? Anti-Defamation League, ADL. They've just simply lost their way, and this guy probably is the same. We can all get along. No, you can't get along with Muslims, folks. Let's face it. The Quran. This is the Quran. This is the God of Islam. God of Islam. What did I do with my Quran? Here's one of them. The God of Islam. The God of Islam says. Here's what the God of Islam says about. Let's see, 98, chapter 98. Chapter 98. This is what the God of Islam, this is the God that they worship. They believe this is the Word of God. This is what they believe is the Word of God. God, in this book, in his last revelation to mankind, through the prophet, false prophet, Muhammad, says in verse 8, chapter 98, verse 6, surely the unbelievers among the people of the book. Who are the Al-Kitab? The people of the book are Jews and Christians. It goes on to say there. And the idolaters will abide in the fire of hell. We're going to hell. Thank you, Allah. But then it goes on to say, this is the last thing. They are the worst of creatures. We're not the worst of people. We're the worst of creatures. This is what their God says it. Right here. Virgin, you think I'm making this up? Verse 90. Oh, that's verse 97. Where are we at? Go to verse 98. Wherever, just look it up. Verse 98, verse 6. We are the worst of creatures. If they believe that, and if they have a Jew that is telling them that their God is saying that Jews and Christians, you're the worst of creatures, you're an idiot. You are an idiot to support that. This is one of the ideas that I got ideas that are running around in my head all the time. Friday is, Brad knows this, Friday is my last day of work. And I said, I'm going to have my summers off. No, I retired before. Brad, have I said this before? Is this new news that I went back to work? Brad, are you there? Brad's not there. Have I mentioned this before? You said that.
Yes.
I have. Okay. All right. I'm letting the cat out of the bag. But anyway, I went back. I retired.
I don't know if you did it right online. I know you've done it at least privately with me. I'm 100% sure of that.
Okay. All right. Well, I retired from teaching. I had moved from Montgomery County, CMCSS, because, not the reason, because Charles Doyle tried to get me fired. And Kenny Bomer sent them emails saying that this guy's a hate preacher. We're going to have the SPLC, Southern Poverty Law Center, have the CARE. We're going to have it. Oh, no. Here. Hold on. I got to, where did it go? Where did it go? I have it right up here. No, I have it right here. Here it is. This is from our friend. Here's your friend Marshall. Right here. Isa, I shouldn't say it like that. Sorry, I don't mean it like that.
But it's weird. I did talk to Marshall about this, and I was like, Marshall and I really got along. We talked a lot. We video chatted. We were good friends. But the thing that I was really upset with was the doxing. I think doxing is really wrong and it's bad. And I told him, I said, you can't do that, buddy. You have to, if you don't agree with something, you got to debate it. You just, and you have to keep your cool, and that's it. That's the rules. You can't go into people's personal lives. That's wrong. It's amoral. It's unethical. If you don't agree, you have to. This is a marketplace of ideas.
He doesn't care. He doesn't care. He's a Muslim, Isa. They don't care what's ethical. They don't care what's moral. They follow a man, Muhammad, who was the worst example of conduct that somebody could ever be, and they think he's the prophet. And he thinks that his conduct. I mean, he was an ethnic cleansing. He was an ethnic cleanser. Bana Karaiza, Bana Nadir, Bana Kanuka. You remember these three Jewish tribes? He ethnically cleansed Medina of the Jews. That's genocide. He was a murderer. He had people murdered. This guy isn't. And the people who think that he was a prophet, you can't be ethical or moral to think that that is an example to follow for all time. Well, I'm not even getting into his sexual proclivities with his daughter-in-law or with a prepubescent little girl. I'm not even mentioning. Look at what he did. He was a slave trader. Not granted, most cultures back then engaged in slavery. This is true, but he's the sunnah. He's the example. His sunnah. His example is for them to follow. If you follow his sunnah today, you will end up in jail. That's the bottom line. Anyway, this is Marshall. And now he sends it to me under this guy's name, John Wilson, whatever. This is ridiculous. But here's what he says. Attention. This is the way he writes. We are pleased to announce we are staging a protest in 3 weeks against me in front of the school that I taught in Clarksville, and we're going to have care in the Southern Poverty Law Center there. That's the kind of crap that he does. That's your friend Marshall. But anyway, let me get back to this teaching thing. So this Friday is my last day. I went back. I retired 2 years ago. My principal called me. What are we doing here, Rad? I don't know why that did that. But anyway, I retired, and then my principal, after being out a year, my principal calls me back, asks me to come back and teach history out at the middle school out here, and I was like, okay, yeah, I'll give it a shot. And I've had a great year. I really have. I mean, it's just been, I don't know, it's just been a great year. But it's time to go. It's time to hang it up. And so I am retiring this week. And what I plan to do, I have so many things. When you retire, I got so many things I want to do. Traveling is one of them, of course, but there's other things that deal with this show and with this topic that I'll be cueing you guys in. You guys will be the first to know. What is crusade culture here? Crusader culture, indeed. Yeah, here we are. Scripture, polytheists. Those are the worst creatures. Yeah, thank you for posting that. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That's exactly what does Coco Quran mean? What does that mean? I don't... Is there anybody that knows what that... Do you guys know what that means, Coco Quran? Maybe somebody post that in chat. I don't...
Do you think it might be a user? Like a user's handle?
A what?
One of the users who are here, and the person is responding to one of the users.
Okay. Okay. So anyway, SPLC, you can stick it, and I hope you die on the vine. Ed's here. Hey, Ed. Good to see you. More like Coco. Anyway, what was I going to say? They're going to lose. They're all washed up. All of that money that they have in these offshore accounts is going to be brought out in their trial, and they're going to see that how corrupt they are. I mean, when you try to get people to commit racial, I don't know, not racial crimes, but gin up racial hatred, to act out racially, gin up racial hatred. When you pay people to do that so that you can document racial hatred, so you can ask for more donations, you're done. You are so done. So
well, I don't know if you covered this, but one of the most outrageous things they did was they paid the guy that did the Unite the Right in Charlottesville.
I didn't mention the particulars, but yeah.
So they paid this guy like $200,000 to stage this phony Unite the Right, where this guy invites all of his or promotes it on the on their websites and stuff like that for all these haters to show up. Okay, and this kid, I think he got railroaded. I think this was a mistake, and I said this early on. So this kid shows up, he borrows his dad's Dodge Charger, drives to it, and then he's actually leaving. Okay, so he went there for a little bit, and then he's like, "Yeah, I'm leaving now. This is too crazy." And he's leaving, and he put in the GPS to get him home, to drive him home. Okay, which is like like 3 other states or whatever. He put it in Google Maps, and he was following the Google Maps, and it took him right into the lefties protesting, and they surrounded his dad's car and started pounding on it. Okay, this is his dad's car, so he's freaked out. He's only a 19-year-old kid, and so he backs up, and he actually ran over and he killed one of the lefty protesters, and this is what SPLC wanted. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, yeah, exactly. That's exactly what they wanted. Some type of hate crime against their side, right? And this is what they gin up, so they get more donations.
But the kid was like, when the cops, because he drove down like a couple blocks just trying to get away from him, and they were chasing him. And finally, the cops pulled him over. He got out. He was like, hey, these guys are attacking me. And they told him he just ran over someone. He's like, oh, he was shocked. The cops said in their reports, he was visibly upset and shaken. They even say he puked, he vomited when he heard that he killed someone. They didn't want to arrest him for a hate crime. This was just a vehicle.
Was he ever convicted of this?
I think so. I think he got heavy time. I'll look that up. I think he got heavy time, dude.
Really?
I'll look that up. But yeah, no, they didn't want to. They actually have the documentation to the prosecutor. But then because they promoted, they said, "Oh, he's a hater." No, they got to put him in prison. He deliberately ran over a protester.
Well, this is about the same time that they had the Derek Chauvin and George Floyd.
Oh yeah, that man needs a pardon, dude. But he ain't gonna get it until they get unless Minnesota gets a Republican governor with some kahunas. They ain't gonna get it, dude. That dude was totally right by his own police department.
Yeah,
him and all, dude. One of those guys that just got 5 years. 5 years. He only had 3 days on the job as a police officer. I don't know how many days, but it was like honestly not. It was definitely under a month, dude. He just got out of the police academy.
And they gave him 5 years?
I think they gave him 3 or 5 years as one of them. Derek Chauvin was his TRO, his training officer. Yeah.
Wow.
They were brutal, dude.
Well, I mean, this is the thing with George Floyd. A lot of people don't understand. This guy was dead anyway. I mean, he was high on.
Hey, Eric, that's Saint George Floyd, patron saint of all the fentanyl users. Okay, you must respect him. And hey, dude, he's coming up now. 6 years of being sober, dude. Wow,
What was I heard? What was that I heard about? His family got like a big settlement from the city.
Oh yeah.
And now they're filing for bankruptcy. It's not.
Oh, they probably are. The whole family.
It's not funny. But
I mean, it had nothing to do with George Floyd.
Yeah,
had nothing to do with him, dude.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel bad for the guy because the guy had. I mean, when he was young, he was just big. I mean, he was a Division I scholarship to play wherever the heck he played. I don't even know where he played, but he
screwed up. You got on drugs, dude.
And then he gets out of college, and he's not going to the pros. So what do?
Right.
Well, he develops a drug habit, and he starts committing felonies. And in the process, he gets high on fentanyl and commits a crime, passing off a counterfeit bill or whatever. He gets arrested, and then he wants to fight the cops. This whole thing with fighting the cops, like the ICE thing. Who was the lady that got?
Oh, that was shot in the. I mean, dude, listen.
Yeah, and then petty. Oh, good, because the joke was petty good or whatever.
Good, yeah.
It's not funny. We're not laughing out on this show. But both of these clowns are they're assaulting cops or have the ability to assault cops. She hits the guy with the car. He brings a gun to approach. Who brings a gun to approach?
Well, that's another thing. Well, that's another thing. Minnesota passed a law in 2020 outlawing the possession of firearms, either open or concealed, at protests. Okay, because Minnesota is an open carry state. Okay, because of the hunting stuff. Okay, for a lot of things, you can open carry a rifle pretty much. But no. So if the Minneapolis Police Department were doing their job when he first attacked those federal officers a week or two before the incident, and he kicked the vehicle so hard it literally knocked the rear brake full housing right out.
I saw.
Okay,
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, this
yeah,
guy. The
and
guy
his gun
was
was
a
clearly
psychopath.
his gun.
And
His
he
gun was clearly.
wasn't. They said that he was a nurse at the VA or something. He wasn't this. He was. That wasn't what he
It wasn't.
did. No,
What did
that's.
he do?
I don't know what he did.
Well, either way, if
But
the
I mean, the guy
Minneapolis
was
police,
obviously had issues, and when you have
yeah,
issues, and then you get into these scuffles. I mean, what do you expect's going to happen if you get into a scuffle? You're impeding law enforcement. What do you expect is going to happen? It's
well,
not going to end well. And
but see,
when this
here's the
happens,
thing.
everyone's like, "Oh my God, he killed some."
Wait,
What the
can I
hell do
just
you
land
think was
here?
going to happen?
Can I just land here? If the Minneapolis police would have been doing that job on that day, where his weapon was clearly exposed and he was carrying he was illegal, he was in violation, they would have taken away all his guns, right?
Right.
And it possibly put him in jail for a while. But they definitely would have taken away his guns. So he wouldn't have brought that gun to the other protest. And by the way, he was carrying that gun that what is it? It's not the Glock, it's the other one that the U.S. Army canceled. Um, I forgot what it is, but the one
It
that
was a
just goes off if
Beretta.
you.
Wasn't it a
No,
Beretta?
no, it was the one that goes off if you just set it on the table. It's not a Glock.
Was
It's
it the 6 hour?
6 hour. Yeah, yeah. The one that's totally malfunctioning everywhere, and they're pulling it off the shelves everywhere. That's the one. So when that cop did pull it out, it probably accidentally went off. You know. But
Well,
once it goes off, the cops got to fire. So that's the rule.
but yeah. So anytime that you start getting involved in all of these things, we start talking about I don't even know how we got off on this George Floyd thing, but when we start talking about the bringing care into this and the SPLC, we got into it because we were talking about the Goodletts. And what was the name of that town that they protested in, where the guy
South
ran over?
Carolina, Charlotte, South Carolina.
Yeah,
Charlotte,
yeah,
North
okay,
Carolina.
whatever it was. Uh, you know, they're done. This is when you try to present fake hatred, and like this good and this petty guy. These guys aren't heroes. These guys are out purposely trying to impede ICE officers who are fulfilling their congressionally and lawfully mandated duties for arresting and deporting people who are here illegally. And that's what they were doing. And they're trying to impede them. And that's what they did. And they got caught up in it. They got hurt. And that's just the way you are now. Now you're dead.
But good news, George Floyd is coming on his 6-year sobriety. He hasn't been sober that many years in a while. So
That's cool. That's just mean.
I know
That's just
that's
wicked mean.
that's
So,
me.
so
Anyway, let's get to the
I,
Anthony Rogers thing. Sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
I wanted to say one quick thing. So I hear what you're both saying, and I think there's other issues that are underlying what's going on. I think there's a huge burden that's put on police. I think that the government, there's problems with our government in dealing with these situations. We put a whole lot onto police, and we shouldn't, in dealing with these issues. We have a lot of issues with substance usage, and everybody from every class is affected by it. I have a very close person, I would say, who's a brother who overdosed from speedballs. Like, it's a really serious epidemic. There's a lot of people who suffer from substance usage. So I think a lot of people are victims of this. They get tempted, and you may be in the hospital, you might have an Oxycontin, and then you go down this really dark path. So I think a lot of people who go down that path are victims, and they need help and support. And I think and I'm going to say something that might be not very appealing to the audience here. I think President Reagan failed us. He didn't do a good job with this. He didn't know how to deal with it. It was a horrible, epidemic, and it takes a lot of work. You need people who are trained and understand how to deal with substance usage. And we need to do better. Our country needs to do better with this. And I think a lot of the crimes, a lot of the issues that we have are connected to this. So I hope and pray that we can figure out solutions towards substance usage.
Okay, so with Ronald Reagan, you are not allowed to criticize Ronaldus Maximus on this show. I'm
Sorry.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
This dude, stone this heretic to death. Stone him.
We're gonna take East out and stone him to death. We're gonna bury him up to his chest and let him have. No, okay. I get the compassion that we all should, and most of us. I have compassion for people who have substance abuse problems. It isn't that I don't have compassion for these people at all. I've had people in my family that have had substance abuse and have done and are doing time for it. I have all kinds of empathy and compassion for it. That's the issue with the George Floyd thing. Is I don't think it has anything to do with. Well, it does have something with the substance abuse, because here you have a 275, 300-pound man, an absolute mountain and monster of a man, high on fentanyl, a lethal amount of fentanyl in his system, refusing to comply with officers' instructions because he was being placed under arrest for passing a counterfeit. He has a witness saying that he passed this bill, so he's being placed under arrest for this, and he refuses to comply. And in the process, when he's in his car, saying, refusing to get out. He's saying when he's in the car, he was saying at that time he could not breathe. It wasn't the time. Of course, it was the time where Derek Chauvin had his knee on the guy's back. He was saying he can't breathe at that time. But he's
on his
also
back,
saying,
not his neck, on his back, not his neck, which was the trading. That was the trading at that time. You go ahead, sorry.
But he's also saying it while he's in his car, and then to set off all of these riots nationwide, saying systemic racism, systemic police brutality, targeting the African American communities, was all bullshit. That's all it was, and it was just this mantra meant to gin up this hatred, perpetuated by a media that encouraged the riots. CNN, they're mostly peaceful protests. No, they're not. They're burning down cities, for God's sake. You're burning down a city. It's not a peaceful protest. I'm sorry. It's just not. You're burning down police stations. People are being killed in the process. So when we start talking about substance abuse and people dealing with it, dude, I get it, and I'm with you on that. But this guy, this saint that they made this guy into being, this George Floyd, he was a felon. He was a violent felon, high on a lethal dose of fentanyl, who had just committed a crime and who would not comply with the orders of the officers telling him to. They tried to get him in the police car and he would not. That's why he was being pinned down. Now.
And I hear you, but I think a lot of that has to do with the substance usage. This is not a person who's under normal conditions, and that's the thing. Like, we have to have new protocols because we're not dealing with people who are under normal conditions. Like, as you said with your family, they're not normal. If you talk to Dr. Wood, for example, in his own family, like the substance usage, like once you're under, it's like you're under, I don't know how to put it, sort of like you're under demonic possession.
You are. You absolutely are, because that's the only thing that they can think of is how to score their next high. That's what they think about.
They're not in a human position, so they need another kind of help. Like you can't take their life because they're not in normal condition. Do you know what I'm trying to say? That's the point that I'm making about this.
Okay, so let me ask this question. How do you, when you are a 190-pound police officer, what are you supposed to do when you were trying to subdue a 300-pound man? What procedures can you follow to get that to happen?
And I think that's a very good question. And this is why I said I don't think this is the responsibility of the police. This is the responsibility of the bureaucrats and the politicians. This is why politicians get paid money. They're not doing their job. The politicians are the failure. They haven't made, and this is why I want to run for office, because I feel politicians have been a failure. They're not making good procedures. They don't, and I don't think they care. They like their bougie palaces that they live in. They don't really do any work. They're not doing the work they're supposed to be doing, and these are the types of things they're supposed to be solving. That's why they're getting elected. They're paid to do this,
Okay.
and they're
Okay.
not doing it.
Lisa, if you do run for office and get elected, here is the radical, moderately radical plan on how to end the homeless and the chronic drug addiction. You sentence them to life. What I mean by sentencing them to life, you sentence them to a life of recovery. If you are caught houseless and living on the street, and you are definitely mentally ill, and well, so it's a combination, mental illness mixed with mental illness drugs, okay, like fentanyl and stuff like that. They feed off each other and they make you crazy, right? Okay, it's one or the other. You immediately get sentenced to a 60 to 90 day hardcore detox in house. Okay, you are locked up in the detox. Okay, I don't know, 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, whatever it is. After that, you spend at least 1 year in a living facility, like an assisted living facility for addicts, specifically where you recover, where you recover, and then also get job training assistance or to get back in the workforce where you can survive. Then you go to a halfway house, and you have to you cannot pass go on this. You cannot fail one drug test. You fail one drug test, you're right away back to square one. You rinse, repeat, recycle until it finally gets to them. And if they refuse, then they go to jail for 5, 10 years, just hardcore prison. Goodbye. See how you do then? Let me get back to you. But either way, this thing, oh, we're going to harm reduction, we're going to give them pipes and syringes and everything like that, and they can just come back. We're going to give them booty bump kits, because if their lungs are too fried or their veins are too fried, they can take this booty bump kit and do their fentanyl the El Zoot style. Okay, take that plan. That is a winner plan, and that actually is hopefully the soon-to-be mayor of Los Angeles, Spencer Pratt. That is his plan. He stole it from me because I'm the one who came up with it. It's documented. But anyway, and there's more to it than that. But no, you this whole thing of, oh, they'll come to recovery when it's their time. No, that's not how this works. That is not how this works. You ask any addict that has fully come, especially off the fentanyl and the heroin, they're like, no. I had to be forced to get off of it. And once I was off of it, forced off of it, okay, then I could realize that, whoa, I don't want to go back to that crap. But anyway, enough of that. Let's get to the debate, please.
I want to say one to you on this, if that's okay.
All right.
So what I wanted to say to you is that the point is, yes, you're going to have, because that was a problem with happened to my good brother, is that once he went into the rehab and came out, he went back to the substances. You know what I mean?
And he goes back to the rehab. He has no. There has to be.
It's just a cycle, and this is a government. This isn't a government failure. It is a government failure, and it is their fault. And I actually agree with both of you. I think the police are a scapegoat for this situation. They're blaming the police for this problem. This is not the police is the problem. This is a higher up problem. Politicians, lawyers, criminal justice system, these people who are extremely wealthy, they're never blamed. You know who gets blamed? The poor people get blamed. The police. These people are racking in hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Well, you're talking about the NGOs. You're talking about the NGOs. The NGOs with their harm reduction. NGOs with NGOs.
They're putting Band-Aids on. They're putting Band-Aids on gushing wounds.
They're making millions.
On gangrenous infections. They're putting a Band-Aid on it and saying, oh, you're going to be fine. You're not going to be fine. And
well, that's the thing. They're the ones making millions. No, look at these NGOs. They get these grants for homeless, $20 million grants to one NGO alone. Well, guess what? All the board members on that NGO are making six-figure figures. They take that money from the NGO that was given to them by the government, and then they repurpose it. Okay, they have galas, they have events, they have fundraisers. True, they have an army of volunteers that don't get paid. Yes, look at this. We're handing out so many needles. We're handing out, Bob, we're doing all this stuff. Great. But meanwhile, the executives and all those on the board, they're making millions off of it, and they're also funneling back some of that money to campaign contributions to the DNC. It's a total recycle thing. Anyway, let's get to the debate. We can discuss this later. I would love
No,
to
no,
have
we
this
really,
discussion on you. Yeah, I
we
would love to
really,
have this discussion with you. Yeah.
and I don't disagree with what you're saying. There's a lot of problems, and um, the thing is that the solutions, the people cannot just blame these other people, like the police, for all of this. That's the big problem. They're scapegoating police and not dealing with structural issues, and that's the problem. But yeah, we'll and the NGOs. You're correct. All of that. They're all in cahoots with lots of problems. So we'll talk about that later. Well, we'll see Anthony. I actually just saw Anthony Rogers recently with David Wood, so it's funny.
I'm just looking up Ed's thing here. Nuclear nightmare, Abu Dhabi, drone strikes. Is UAE slams dangerous drone? Okay, so a drone hits near nuclear plant. Is this what you're talking about, Ed? Let me reset this. Where'd it go? There it is, right there. Is this what you're talking about? UAE dangerous escalation of drone hits near nuclear plant. Determined source of attacks. Successfully 2 drones, while a third hit a generator near the plant, were launched in the western border without providing. Country's foreign minister and immigrant officials did not attribute blame to the attacks. So they hit near a nuclear plant in the UAE, but not the plant itself. We'll follow that closely, but I don't see where it is. So we're gonna go ahead and get started on this Anthony Rogers debate that he did with C.L. Edwards on whether or not Jesus taught that he was God or just a prophet. So let's. I have not watched this debate. I started listening to it and I realized I did not have time. So. So whatever is said here by Anthony Rogers is new to me. We'll comment and stop it as time provides. So let's go ahead. And I over here on the right side, as you can see, I have the transcripts of this.
Into the world to renew in me a right spirit and enable me to believe in the Lord Jesus Christ, through whom alone one can have forgiveness of sins. To set the context for my answer to the question, did the historical Jesus claim to be God? I want to begin by talking about a forbidden text, a text of the Hebrew Scriptures that was, before the coming of Jesus, extremely popular and highly significant to Jews, but which, after the coming of Jesus, was judged to be dangerous by the Talmudic sages. So much so that they forbade it to be read in public and forbade anybody to expound upon it or even to study in private unless they were over 30 years old and among the most elite rabbis. The passage that I have in view here is one described by the prophet Ezekiel concerning his call while in Babylonian exile. The prophet begins, again relating his call to prophethood, "While I was by the Kabar River among the exiles, the heavens were opened, and I saw visions of God." In the first of his visions, Ezekiel speaks of seeing a rapidly approaching storm coming from the north. This storm drove along before it a great cloud that was surrounded by an awe-inspiring radiance. In this vision, as the cloud was approaching, Ezekiel saw over his head what appeared to be living creatures, which he will later identify as cherubim. He goes on to speak of an expanse over these cherubim that was clear as crystal, and above the expanse there was something resembling a throne or a throne chariot, known to Jews as the Merkavah. And then above the throne, above the cherubim, above the expanse, above the throne, high above it, was one who was characterized by exceedingly great glory, known again to the Jews as the kavod. And this kavod, according to Ezekiel, had the appearance of a man. To quote the prophet, Now above the expanse that was over their heads, there was something resembling a throne like sapphire stone in appearance. And on the likeness of the throne was a likeness with the appearance of a man high above it. Then I noticed from the appearance of his loins and upward something like glowing metal that looked like fire all around within it. And from the appearance of his loins and downward, I saw something like fire, and there was a radiance around him. Such was the appearance of...
Sorry. Why, do I get a lot of background noise there? I took it off the hearing, my headset, sorry.
You know, we can hear you moving around and stuff. And also, it's kind of not loud. It's kind of dull if you could turn it up.
How about now?
Well, you gotta mute yourself, but turn it up louder.
Of the likeness of the glory of the Lord. And when I saw him, I fell on my face and heard a voice speaking. End quote. Ezekiel will go on in successive visions to speak of being caught or snatched up by the Spirit of God. And again, he'll speak of seeing the living creatures, the cherubim, the throne chariot, the Merkavah, the glory, the kavod, and especially the man-like figure high above it. When Ezekiel speaks of this figure's voice, he'll say that it was like the sound of a loud trumpet and like the sound of many rushing waters. And if it's not clear from all that he says in his inaugural vision, Ezekiel explicitly says in Ezekiel 10 that the figure on the throne, characterized by glory, is the God of Israel. And the one on the throne tells Ezekiel that he's sending him to prophesy to a stiff-necked people, a people with uncircumcised hearts and ears, a people who see but do not see, who hear but do not hear, for they have covered their ears. The Lord further says to Ezekiel, though they cry in my ears with a loud voice, I will not listen to them. Well, what is it that was so troubling about this vision to Jews in the wake of Christ's coming? That is, Jews after Jesus came. After all, unlike Muslims today, ancient Jews, not even the Talmudic Jews, none of them denied that God could appear in human form. They knew that all the...
Let's make sure we understand the difference between what the Jews are teaching and what Muslims teach. Because Muslims teach that there's no way God can even enter his creation. Forget the fact that he was in the burning bush or anything of the like. But that this is what they teach, that God cannot enter his creation. The Jews are teaching that they can. So this, when Muslims try to claim that they are from the Jewish traditions, they're not. This is a made-up faith system by Muhammad, period.
Prophets taught that God, the Lord God, the sovereign Lord, could indeed, as he pleased, appear in human form whenever he was pleased to do so. They knew that God appeared to our first parents in the Garden of Eden when he walked among them. They knew that he shut the door of the ark behind Noah and his family. They know that he appeared to Abraham near the oaks of Mamre, that he appeared to Moses in the burning bush, that he appeared to Joshua before the battle of Jericho, to Isaiah in the year that King Uzziah died. They know that he appeared to Zechariah among the myrtle trees, and on it goes. This was something that Jews were familiar with and still believed all the way up into the Middle Ages. But what was so troubling then about this vision? Well, what was troubling about this vision to Jews immediately after the coming of Christ was that they knew it was inescapably related to what was seen by another prophet, the prophet Daniel, and that it therefore pointed to the existence of a second divine person, a person who was none other than the coming Messiah. Like Ezekiel, Daniel was a Jew living in exile under the Babylonians. Like Ezekiel, Daniel saw visions of God. Like Ezekiel, Daniel saw the Merkavah, the throne chariot. And in one of his visions, after speaking of the throne and of 4 beast-like empires that would rule in succession over the earth to finally be defeated, Daniel goes on to say this: I kept looking in the night visions, and behold, with the clouds of heaven, one like a son of man was coming. And he came up to the Ancient of Days and was presented before him. And to him was given dominion, glory, and a kingdom, that all peoples, nations, and men of every language might worship him. His dominion is an everlasting dominion, and his kingdom is one which will never be destroyed. Later in the same chapter, Daniel will go on to call this Son of Man El Yonim, which means the highest one in Aramaic. He'll go on to call him in the next chapter, Sar Sarim, the Prince of Princes. And in the chapter after that, chapter 9, he calls him Mashiach Nagid, meaning Messiah the Prince. And since this figure is here presented as ruling over all the nations and receiving universal worship, they also recognize that this was none other than, as Daniel said, this is the one that David spoke of when he said, the Lord said to my Lord, sit at my right hand until I make your enemies your footstool. Here then is a figure distinct from the Ancient of Days who is nevertheless identified as the God of Israel, a person who has the form of a man and is called by Daniel, Son of Man, even Messiah the Prince. This identification of one like a son of man seen by Daniel with the man-like figure seen by Ezekiel was recognized by ancient Jews before the coming of Jesus, as can be seen from such intertestamental writings as 1st Enoch, 4th Ezra, the Songs of the Sabbath Sacrifice found at Qumran, as well as the manuscript known as 4Q246, in which this figure is also called the Son of God. And while belief in more than one divine person was perfectly acceptable to Jews before the coming of Jesus, in the aftermath of his coming, this was perceived to be dangerous because it gave significant traction to the followers of Jesus. This is pointed out, by the way, not by Christian scholars, but Jewish, or those writing as scholars of ancient Judaism. Rick Vandewater, for example, wrote an article that people can look up called Early Rabbinic Judaism and the Danger of Ezekiel 1. Well, all of this leads me then to the apostolic witness, the witness of Christ's apostles, the men Christ chose and authorized to be his mouthpieces, together with their associates and the early church. An example of this testimony is seen, for starters, in Acts 7, where Stephen, a man full of the Holy Spirit, an associate of the apostles, and one of the church's first deacons, was apprehended and arraigned before the Jewish Sanhedrin for preaching in Jesus the fulfillment of the prophetic word, the word of men like Ezekiel and Daniel. As Stephen preached Christ to them, reproaching them for condemning, betraying, killing the righteous one, the ruling men of the Jews gnashed their teeth at him, and then Stephen, echoing the words of Ezekiel and Daniel, said, "Behold, I see the heavens opened." That's a tip-off that he's echoing Ezekiel. "I see the heavens opened, and one like a son of man, or one like the Son of Man, seated at his right hand." Just as Ezekiel had a vision of the heavens open, so did Stephen. Just as Daniel identified the figure in his vision as one who looked like a son of man approaching the Ancient of Days, so Stephen says he saw the Son of Man seated at the right hand. Any first century Jew familiar with Ezekiel and Daniel would have known exactly what Stephen was driving at. And if they didn't believe that Jesus was this figure, a divine figure, then it would have been to them intolerable blasphemy. Indeed, this was the very response of the Sanhedrin. When Stephen said this, the Jewish leaders cried out with a loud voice, covered their ears, as Ezekiel was told the people would do in his day at this message. They rushed at Stephen and drove him out of the city, exiled him, as it were. And as they were stoning him, Stephen said, "Lord Jesus, receive my spirit." Interestingly, there's a story in the writing of the early church father Eusebius, who is known as the father of church history, in which he recounts for us an incident involving James, the half-brother of the Lord Jesus. The Jews went to James. He was understood to be a just man, and they asked James to get the people to stop speaking these things in the name of Jesus. And so they took James to the pinnacle of the temple to tell the crowds not to do such things. And when James got to the top of the temple, he said, "I see the heavens open, and the Son of Man is about to come." James there is viewed as portending or referring to the soon coming judgment on Jerusalem, which the early Christians believed was going to be enacted by the exalted Christ. Well, the same Luke that tells us about Stephen also tells us of another person who was present on that occasion, a Pharisee named Saul, a man who was violently opposed to this teaching of the early Jewish church, which, by the way, as even Bart Ehrman, a critical, unbelieving scholar, says, proves Paul was not the innovator of these things. Paul is reacting against these things every bit as violently as all the other Jews that had opposed Jesus and the ruling body of the Jews. So this man was there giving approval to Stephen's martyrdom, and boiling over with rage, he began to go around from house to house and city to city trying to gather up those who believed these things. Well, on one such occasion, Luke tells us the story 3 times. After receiving authority from the chief priests, Saul was going to Damascus to continue his inquisition. As he was traveling, it says about noontime, it says suddenly a light from heaven flashed around him, a light and glory brighter than the noonday sun. And having fallen to the ground, he heard a voice saying to him, "Get up, stand on your feet." This is interesting. As scholars have pointed out, this is an awkward phrase in Greek. It's only found in one other bit of writing, the Greek translation of Ezekiel. The very words that the one on the throne spoke to Ezekiel: "Get up and stand on your feet." Over all of them.
The very same wording, the very same "get up, stand on your feet" is being used. Okay, do you see that interplay, dude? This is the brilliance of Anthony Rogers, how he brings it all together: Old Testament, New Testament. It's only used in one other place. It's used in Ezekiel. Do you see what I'm saying? This is brilliant. Like I said, take notes, dude. This is probably first year in class. Okay, this is probably first year. Okay, a class 100 in Anthony Rogers Seminary, dude. Okay, on the Son of Man and the deity of Christ in the Old Testament and in the New Testament. Okay, but anyway, continue play on. This is brilliant stuff, dude. Continue. Sorry.
Jewish scholars themselves, looking at this, have said this is Paul or Luke's way of describing the same thing that happened to Ezekiel. For example, if you want to look this up, Alan Segal, no friend of Christianity, he talks about this in his book, The Apostolate and Apostasy of Saul the Pharisee. He says this looks like every bit like a Merkava vision, a vision of an exalted man on the throne. Well, in Revelation 1, we see the same thing. The Apostle John, while in exile on the island of Patmos. You seeing a pattern here? Exile, vision, Spirit of God. John's on the island of Patmos, he says, and he was in the Spirit on the Lord's day. And having been caught up in the Spirit, John heard behind him a loud voice that sounded like a trumpet. Again, this is echoing the language of Ezekiel. This is the characteristic of the scriptures. They tip you off to other texts, often in ways besides explicit quotation. But then John says this: "Then I turned to see the voice that was speaking with me, and having turned, I saw 7 golden lampstands, and in the middle of the lampstands, I saw one like a son of man, clothed in a robe reaching to the feet, and girded across his chest with a golden sash. His head and his hair were white like wool, like snow, and his eyes were like a flame of fire. His feet were like burnished bronze when it has been made to glow in a furnace, and his voice was like the sound of many waters. In his right hand he held 7 stars. Out of his mouth came a sharp sword, and a 2-edged sword, and his face was like the sun shining in its strength. When I saw him, I fell at his feet like a dead man." Same thing that Ezekiel said, the same thing Paul said. "And he placed his right hand on me, saying, 'Do not be afraid. I am the first and the last.'" He's echoing other prophetic statements of God in the Old Testament. "And the living one," he says. And
this is the same phrase that is used in the Quran by Allah. So if you are saying that you are the first and the last, you are the Alpha and the Omega, you are claiming to be God. To deny this is just absolute absurdity.
And then he says, "I was dead, and behold, I'm alive forevermore. I hold the keys to death and Hades." Later in Revelation 14, John said, "Then I looked, and behold, a white cloud, and sitting on the cloud was one like a son of man, having a golden crown on his head." Now, where would the followers of Christ get this idea that Jesus is the Son of Man, seen by Ezekiel above the divine throne and foreseen by Daniel as ascending back up into heaven? A belief for which they were willing to die, give their very lives. Well, not only did they, by their own testimony, see these visions of the risen and glorified Christ, wherein he appeared to them as the Son of Man, but this is the very thing that Jesus himself, during his earthly ministry, said ever and anon. For example, in John chapter 8, speaking to the Jews, Jesus said, "When you have lifted up the Son of Man, then you will know that I am." Here, Jesus not only calls himself the Son of Man, but even calls himself by the divine self-asseveration formula that God used when speaking to Moses at the burning bush. Well, not only do we learn this from John's accounts of the gospel, for which there are many other references I'm glossing over, but we also see it in Luke's account. In Luke 17, for example, Jesus refers to the judgment he was going to unleash on apostate Jerusalem, saying, just like the lightning, when it flashes out of one part of the sky, shines to the other part of the sky, so will the Son of Man be in his day. Later in Luke 21, speaking of that same judgment, Jesus said, the powers of the heavens will be shaken. Then they will see the Son of Man coming in a cloud with power and great glory. Notice the kavod, the glory. Not only in Luke, again, I'm passing over many other references, but Matthew also records Jesus identifying himself as this divine Son of Man. In Matthew 25, speaking of the final judgment, the great assize that will take place at the end of the world when Jesus comes to judge, it says, Jesus there says, when the Son of Man comes in his glory, think kavod, and all the angels with him, no doubt inclusive of the cherubim, then he will sit on his glorious throne, Merkabah. Now, all the nations will be gathered before him, and he will separate them one from another. Here are the angels, here's the kavod, here's the cherubim, and here's that man-like figure that's going to be seated upon it.
1 minute left.
Well, what we
I was just going to add to this, and I'm kind of scanning through the notes here, and I don't see it, but also if you look in the Gospel of Matthew, in verse or chapter, what is this, chapter 20, what chapter am I in here? I think it's 26, 27, 26, and this is Jesus before Caiaphas, and Caiaphas and the high priest stood up and said, have you no answer to make? But Jesus remained silent, and he's high priest, I adjure you, by the living God, tell us if you are the Christ, the Son of God. And Jesus said to him, you have said so, but I tell you, Jesus is saying this, I tell you, from now on you will see the Son of Man, popular term, Son of Man, Ezekiel, God, okay, seated at the right hand of power and coming. Now here's where this is associated with what Anthony mentioned in Daniel, coming on the clouds of the Ancient of Days, coming on the clouds of heaven. It is known that only God comes on the clouds of heaven. But it says here in Matthew, verse 63, I adjure you, okay, you have said so, but I tell you now, you see the Son of Man seated at the right hand of power and coming on the clouds of heaven. So what is Caiaphas's reaction to this? Where Jesus is saying, look, I am God, and you're going to see me, I am God. Why? Because you're going to see me coming on the clouds of heaven. Caiaphas doesn't just shrug his shoulders and say, this guy's crazy. Caiaphas, it says in the very next verse, the high priest tore his robes and said, he has uttered blasphemy. What further witness do we have? You've heard the blasphemy. What is your judgment? He deserves death. So this is, I mean, when Muslims say that Jesus just spoke monotheism, well, why the hell do you think the Jews wanted to kill him? Because he was out preaching monotheism? That's what they believed. This idea that they didn't believe, that Jesus did not say this is absolutely absurd, and it's predicated based on ignorance and dishonesty of the New Testament. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, I wanted to caution one phrase here. It's not that Jews wanted to kill Jesus, because Jews were the followers of Jesus. Jews are a diverse population, so we shouldn't generalize Jews. So some Jews who may have been in the court, and they were also known as being hyper-corrupt. The Sadducee, the Sanhedrin of the time was very corrupt, according to the text. So those people who are also afraid of losing their power, that's important. We have to look at all of those other elements. So I think that's an important thing that we need to consider as well.
Well, even if they are corrupted, okay, fine, I get that. I agree, because if you read the book of Acts, of all the different trials that are brought before the Sanhedrin, Peter, John, Paul, it is a kangaroo court. This is true. But the fact here is that the debate is, did Jesus teach that he was God? This clearly nails it. He also referred to John in the Gospel of John, how the Jews reacted to Jesus in chapter, I think it's chapter 7 or 8, where he says, where he talks about the rebuilding of the temple, and they said, he says, I am Yahweh, ego emai. He claims to be God there. Well, Muslims will say, well, that, just saying I am does not mean that you're saying God. And that's fine if you're just reading the text as a Muslim, somebody who's ignorant of what the text means. The Jews understood what it means. So in the very next verse, I think it's 59, it says they picked up the stones to kill him. Well, why would they kill him if he's just preaching monotheism or he's saying something innocuous as I am? They understood exactly what Jesus was teaching, is that he is God. I am. Ego eime. Go ahead, Brad.
I want to say one other thing too after Rod.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, well, just really quick, just to clarify. No, we are not saying all Jews wanted to kill Jesus, and neither is the Bible saying that. We are just saying the Jews that were the authority.
Brad, you're kind of light in sound. We can't you gotta.
Really? Okay,
Yeah,
hold on
sorry.
a second. Let me take a look at that. Give me a moment. No, it should be cranking up here. All right, well, crank it up a little bit louder. How's that sound?
That's much better.
All right, okay. Well, as I was saying, no, we are not saying all Jews, and the Bible's not saying all Jews clearly, because all the early church was all Jews, okay? What the Bible's clearly saying is that the Jews in authority, which became the rabbinical Jews, the Sanhedrin, okay, they wiped out the Pharisees, but, well, supposedly the Pharisaical Jews wipe out the Sadducees, okay, and the Pharisaical Jews became the rabbis, okay. But either way, yes, the vast majority of Jews, okay, rejected Jesus, okay, and there were a lot of Jews that converted, I shouldn't say converted, but accepted Jesus as their personal Lord and Savior. So in no way is the Bible anti-Semitic. It's just kind of stating a fact. Just saying. But let us move on, please, because I want to. By the way, wait, Eric, real quick, dude. In the second rebuttal, Anthony Rogers nails that point, and he nails it in a way that is just, dude, it's mic drop fantastic. But wait, go ahead, Issa. Go ahead.
So the thing is, that's why I'm saying I caution using the term Jewish people. I would say these are corrupt people. You know, like when we have crime, you have people who happen to be of certain backgrounds and certain traditions, but I wouldn't then label them based on that. And just like you said, some people embraced Jesus and some people didn't, and that's fine. That's just the way the narrative works, and I get that. And you also have to understand, according to the narrative itself, these people didn't want to lose their power. They saw Jesus as a threat to their power. So this is an important thing. It's not really that they cared about the religion. It's more that they cared about holding their power and not losing their power. You know, and that's what they're afraid of. They're like, we're going to make any excuse up so we can get rid of this person who's challenging our authority. And it actually is very consistent to a lot of the stuff that we see throughout the Hebrew text, because you see these Hebrew figures who are following what God tells them to do, and other people rebelling because they want to maintain their power. Someone like Korah, you know what I mean? So this is an important thing to consider. But the point that I also wanted to bring up is the Muslim opposition to this, which I don't understand. So a lot of Muslims, which is shocking to me, I don't understand why Muslims are taking this position, but Muslims are taking the position that the Bible is corrupt, which is something I've never heard about until I came into these spaces, that a Muslim actually thinks that the Torah, the Zabur, and the Injil are corrupt. I understand now why they believe that, but believing it is extremely problematic and it goes against Islamic faith. You know what I mean? The Islamic faith does affirm it. And if there's a contradiction, then Muslims need to seek reconciliation. They cannot seek rejection. That's the thing. The position of rejection is the problem. But the problem in these debates are, if C.L. Edwards believes that the Bible is corrupt, which is strange because if this is the same person, this man is a person who was a Christian who became a Muslim, who became a Christian, who became a Muslim. Am I right? Did I get this correctly? So he did believe the Bible was true. I don't know how you can believe the Bible is true.
I'm sorry, I missed that. So just to be clear, C.L. Edwards was a Muslim. He was an offshoot of the Nation of Islam Muslims out of Dearborn, Michigan. No, his whole thing is hardcore anti-militancy and stuff like that. Okay, Christian Prince convinced him Islam was false, and he became a Christian. Then he hooked up with Sam Shamoun and David Wood and even Anthony Rogers. They went on a debate tour where C.L. Edwards debated Shadid Lewis, also another Black Panther. It's an offshoot. They're considered Sunni Muslims. I mean, they can go on Hajj, but they're an offshoot of Nation of Islam. they don't believe in the space alien stuff of Nation of Islam or the mad scientists created the white race,
The
that kind of goofy
occultist.
stuff, right?
The
You know,
occultist scientist.
yeah, yeah, but no, but they're definitely hardcore Black Pride, Black centric, kind of like a Hebrew. What is it? Hebrew. What are they? Hebrew Israelite,
Hebrew
but
Israelite.
only
Black Hebrew Israelite.
but only in Islam. You know what I mean? I think that was the 3%ers, 7%ers, one of
Oh,
those.
5%er. The 5%ers.
Is that I don't know. They got
Oh, yeah,
different
the five
percentages.
percenters. Yeah, 5%.
But either way, one of those offshoots. Anyway, so he hooks up with Sam Shimon, and Sam Shimon invites him on this cable show or satellite show called ABN. I forgot what it stood for, but it was in Arabic. I'm sorry, what?
Aramaic Broadcasting Network.
Right, out of Detroit, Michigan. Anyway, so David Wood gets looped. Oh, then James White gets looped in. Blah blah. Anyway, they go on debate tours and various debates with him, debating other Muslims. Like I said, he debated Shadid Lewis twice. It was kind of funny. We got to look up that debate. We should do a review on that. But anyway, so then like before the pandemic, like 2019. By the way, they raised a bunch of money for him. He went to like a very good biblical Bible school or Bible college, and he got a bachelor's degree in something or other. Okay, he got a free ride, free scholarship that was all paid for by Christian donations. And then as soon as he got that, 2 years later, he's like, "I'm reverting back to Islam." This is like the year before the pandemic. We're like, mm-hmm. So you're returning the money, dude. You know what I mean? But you don't say nothing about that. But that is C.L. Edwards. Oh, and then he also hooked up for Kenny for a while.
But no, and I actually talked with him on Kenny's show because I went on Imam Bomer's show. So I remember seeing him there, and I was like, "Weren't you a Christian?" Like I remember seeing you on with Dr. Wood and Mr. Shamoon. I remember seeing that. I was like, "This is interesting to see you here." Very like with a Sheikh get up. I was like, "Wow, this is really interesting. Have a conversation." And I told them, I said, I'm like a libertarian. Because he asked, why am I on the cross of the crescent? And I'm like, I'm a libertarian. I believe in free speech. I'm a free speech activist. So I don't care what you believe, but I support your right to say it. I believe in
Why
free
would
speech.
he ask you if you were on the cross and the crescent? Why would
Well, because he's saying you seem like such a nice guy. Why are you with these Islamophobic haters,
Oh, I see.
You're with Islamophobic haters who hate Islam. And I'm like,
I
you know
get
what I believe in? I believe in free speech.
Oh, he hasn't seen anything yet. I can promise you that. Just as soon as I get done Friday, you ain't seen nothing yet, brother.
But that's the
You
point.
want to see Islamophobia? Come back to this show. You're going to see Islamophobia.
So he accused me of being like a conservative. He said, I'm a conservative because I believe in free speech. I do believe that people have a right to debate, and that's actually a problem I see in a lot of these spaces, is that there isn't debate. There isn't conversation because people are afraid, and they shouldn't be afraid. I think if your ideas are true, they will win out. I was actually talking to Nadir recently. He's been emailing me, and he's like, why are you hanging out with these Islamophobic haters? And I said, well, I believe in free speech. And I said, if the Quran is true, if Islam is true, you can't. How can you burn? Like, let's say someone burns the Bible. You can't destroy the truth. If the Quran is true and you burn the Quran, if the Quran is really true, it can't be destroyed. Am I right? Like in Arabic, they say haq. It's the truth. If something is haq, it cannot be destroyed, right? So why are people afraid of people destroying the Quran? It can't really be destroyed if it's actually the truth, unless you believe that the book is, the book itself is the truth, and you can actually destroy the truth then. And I'm like, well, then that seems to be problematic for your faith, for your iman. You know what I mean?
I'll tell you what is problematic for their faith, and that is the truth, history, reality, archaeology, all of these things that lead us to understand how historical events happened, what their own sources say, what the Quran says. Is it Islamophobic to talk about how Muslims have used the injunction that we find in 929 to fight them who do not believe in Allah, and then to subjugate them and to make them pay a tax, and the historical ramifications of that verse, where Muslims have gone across Europe for a millennia, attacking Christians, taking them slaves, plundering them, and killing them, is that Islamophobic to tell the truth? No, it's not. And that's what what we do here. We actually read their sources. When you read their own sources and they get upset about that and call you names for doing it, screw you. I mean, Islamophobe. Why do you hang out with Islamophobes? The people who tell the truth about your religion, you can call them any name you want to. It is, if your only defense is to call us names like an Islamophobe, which means nothing. It actually, it does. An Islamophobe is a kafir that knows a little bit too much about Islam. That's what an Islamophobe is, according to them. So if that's your only retort, then fine. You can go ahead and die on the vine with your religion. It's not going to. It's just not going to survive. You have to engage in these arguments. What does it mean to say that Jews and Christians are the worst of creatures, and then try to tell us that you want to live peaceably among us? What does that mean? How do you do that if that's how you view me, as worst of creatures? And maybe you don't view me that way. Okay, that's great, but your God does. Do you follow the Quran? Don't you follow what your God teaches? All of these things, they need to answer these questions. And C.L. Edwards, he's just...
I think that's a very good point, and I think this is a lot of Jewish people do this. It's like you go and you do textual criticism, you engage, you can have a scholarly engagement with the text. I think it's a very healthy thing to do, and I think it's why we have scholars and we look at the text. And
that's the problem. Issa, hold on just a second. That's the problem. They don't have scholarly debates based on the text. If you really want to talk, because their constant mantra, well, the scriptures have been corrupted. By whom and when? I would like to see the evidence for that. No. If you're going to say that, I demand that you go ahead and present the evidence. Don't give me these insertions that we find and these variants that we find in the manuscripts. I want you to show me hardcore evidence. This is what I did in that debate with Daniel on the crucifixion. He actually made up this argument that there are texts that exist prior to what we have, manuscripts that exist prior to what we have, that say that Jesus wasn't crucified. And then we asked him to prove it, cite those texts, and he couldn't. Why? Well, he couldn't because they don't exist. So when you challenge them academically on the textual criticism, they fail every single time. So what do they have to do? They have to turn around and throw this word at you, this name, this Islamophobe, this categorization, being some type of hater, at you, and it's not work. It doesn't work anymore. It's the same things going on. We see it in the UK. They don't care anymore. You raped 250,000 of their little girls. They don't care anymore. They want you out, and they're going to throw your asses out. And the same thing is true here. If you want to engage academically, intellectually, then you're going to have to provide proof, and they can't. And that's the problem. So what do? They call names. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. You're totally fine. I was just going to say that I think that's the important point, is that there needs to be conversation, and maybe you have to eat some humble pie and say, look, there's difficulties within the tradition. I think that's the biggest problem that I see in a lot of Muslim apologist positions, is they don't really have humility. They're a little bit too arrogant, and that's what hurts them. They're like, well, everything's perfect. My tradition is perfect. Everything's perfect. And if you have the standard of perfection, well, there's only down from there. If you don't have any kind of space to say, maybe things aren't so perfect. Maybe there is some kind of flaws here. And having humility, then I think you can actually have a really deep conversation with this situation. I think.
Why do you think that they're arrogant? I mean, what would give them this sense of superiority over Christians and Jews?
I think there's an inferiority complex right now. I don't think the Ottoman Empire had the same problems that we see with this situation now. I'm not saying the Ottoman Empire was perfect. There was a lot of flaws. We know that. But as an empire, they were in a much different kind of space. There wasn't the same kind of ego that you see in this type of space. Because what has happened is, after the Ottoman Empire fell, after the Caliphate fell, Muslims are like, why are we losing? We have always been winning. Why are we losing?
And you're talking about 20th, 21st century history.
Yeah, I think a lot of this is 21st century.
Right. Yeah, I get that.
And then the rise of terrorism, all of this stuff is now that you haven't seen this in the past, because it's like you have this complete collapse where you're like, where is everything gone? Like I don't have, I'm not in power. My societies stink. Like, look at my countries that we have majorities in. What Muslim majority countries are doing well? Like maybe Indonesia, Malaysia, Turkey. Maybe these are and these are not like first, world countries. They might be second world, but like, that's the thing. Like, look at Pakistan. And I have to talk about Pakistan because what is Pakistan? They're Indian Muslims. Bangladesh and Pakistan are a bunch of Indian Muslims that decided to say, we want to make our own country for Indian Muslims. And they've been epic failures. Both Pakistan and Bangladesh are failures of countries. You know what I mean? Look at India in the middle. It's still suffering greatly, but I mean, it's a constitutional democracy that has Christians, Hindus, Muslims, everybody is living together under a constitutional democracy. Look at Pakistan and Bangladesh. They're failing. Bangladesh has trafficking of 1 million women a year. Pakistan has heinous amounts of crimes that are going on, assault of little children, people who want to leave the country and they can't, and they're killed by their own government. And other Muslims like Ahmadiyya Muslims, which I don't understand why an Ahmadiyya Muslim would even want to claim being a Pakistani. It's better for them to go to India. They're more safe in India than they are in Pakistan, They can't.
Fun fact, really quickly. The largest open-air brothel in the world is in Pakistan. Do you know where this is at? It is right outside of the third largest mosque. Actually, I think it's now the fourth largest mosque in the world. It's called the Red Mosque, I believe, in Pakistan, Lahore, Pakistan. Okay, it is the largest brothel in the world. Open air brothel. It is city blocks wide, dude.
Why? What I'm getting at though is why do they think that they are? Why are they arrogant? Why are they so condescending to everybody else? Why do they think that they're so superior?
I think it's because of feeling inferior. I think that's the situation. That's what a bully is. A bully is this person who's extremely inferior, and then that makes they have to exert power to feel superior. And I think what's happened is a lot of people have gone to reading the Quran literally, which I think is very hard. I don't know how. The Quran is not like the Bible. It's a very, very different text. It's a poetry text, and actually translators have not really done a good job because unlike Omar Khayyam's Rubaiyat, where they've actually preserved the poetry, the Quran is a poetic text, right? So it uses a rhyme scheme. No translators actually preserve the rhyme scheme of the text because it is poetry, right? It uses refrains, it does all of that. It follows the same genre of like Shakespeare, right? That's why people were really into the Quran because they're like, whoa, this is like heavy-duty poetry. So the thing is, it's how do you make poetry literal? It's like very hard. It's like reading Shakespeare and William Faulkner and trying to say, yeah, I'm going to make William Faulkner literal. And I get it. This is another problem that you can make as an argument towards Muslims. Like, how can you say this is like your literal holy text when your text is under a genre that really is unclear and is unable to be decipherable for a person to read? I think you could make that argument, but I think that is the text is just not a text that's like a literal. You can't read the text and understand it. It just is not that kind of text. You know what I mean? It's like reading Shakespeare. That's what I would argue. When you read it, like you're like, for example, take Surah Al-Lahab or Masad. It says, "Perished are the two hands of Abu Lahab, and may he be and may he perish, right? And his wealth will not avail him. He shall roast on a fire having flame, and his wife will be the carrier of firewood, and around his neck will be a palm fiber." What does that mean? Like, how do you understand what that means in English? You know what I mean? You can't read that and understand it.
Shakespeare's tough, but there's a
book. Though it's not like the Bible. When you read the Bible, you're like, okay, you have ethnicities, you have landscapes.
Do you have this book? Have you read this book?
I have not read that book. No.
You need to read this book, A Challenge to Islam for Reformation. This author, Günter Lüling, has discovered that the Quran, you say that it's full of poetry and it's supposed to be this nice. It's not poetry. They're Christian hymns. That's what they're from. He's done the research. They're Christian hymns. This is where the Quran came from, old Christian hymns. And Muhammad just put his own twist on them. When you go through there and you take out the diacritical, what he does is he take out the diacritical marks, and when you take out the diacritical marks, this is what you get. You get old Christian hymns, the majority of it. I don't know if all of it is, but the poetic parts of it. So, and let me go back to this other part that you were talking about. You're saying that, they're arrogant. They're arrogant because they actually believe that the Quran is from God. And if you have a Quran that tells you that you're the best of all peoples, that's what the Quran says that Muslims are, the best of all peoples, raised up. And then it turns around and says that we are the worst of creatures. You can do anything that you want. Hitler did this. Hitler did this to the Jews. He dehumanized them. He took away their rights, took away their property, took away their citizenship, and then using science, using Darwinian science. Oh, by the way, he even took away their humanity. And then once he took away their humanity, what can you do to somebody that's not even a human being? You can do whatever you want to. And the same thing is true here. Muslims can do, this is why they have no business being in Western society. They have no business being here because they believe we are the worst of creatures. And if you believe that somebody is the worst of creatures, you can attack them constantly, like they did for 1,400 years, before, during, and even after, in some cases, of the Ottoman Empire. You can take and kill them. You can take all of their possessions. You can make them dhimmis. You can you can rape them. You can do all of these things to them. Why? Because they're not even human. They're the worst of creatures. This is why they're arrogant. This is why they look down on Western society. And you look all across Europe. You look in Berlin. You look in France. You look in Paris. You look in England. You can see examples of this all around. Where they go there, they don't work, they sit there and they suck off the welfare system. And a lot of them, like, what's that guy's name? Anjem Chowdhury comes out and says this is a form of jizya that they're paying. The welfare is a form of jizya that they're paying us. No. No more. We're not going to take it anymore. Out you go.
I hear you.
And it's because of your Quran. Now, we can sit here and argue Hadith and all that. Who cares? I'm arguing Quran. And if you are saying that the Quran says this about us, who are you to second guess Allah? Who are you to say that Allah is incorrect on this?
I hear what you're saying, and I just think it's their interpretation of the Quran, because I think, why are there such vast interpretations that are different? Like the Ismaili interpretation and Ahmadiyya interpretation is vastly. Anjem Chowdhury is a Salafi, right? So the Salafis, I think, what they claim is that they're pure and true, but they're innovators themselves. These people believe that the Bible is corrupt. What does the Quran say? And see, this is the problem. The Quran tells us that the Bible is affirmed. They say the Quran is false. Are they kafir? They claim you're kafir, but are they the kafir? Are they covering over because you know what kafir means? It means one who covers over the truth. They're saying that the Bible is corrupted. The Quran says that the Bible is not corrupted. If we're going to go by a Salafi standard of literalism, they don't follow the Salafi standard. You get what I'm saying? So they don't actually believe in the Quran. They cherry pick the Quran and give the most kind of hostile view towards the Quran that suits their needs. They only interpret the Quran to suit their needs. And in fact,
if you are a Muslim, in verse 98, verse 6, surely the unbelievers among the people of the book and the idolaters will abide in the hellfire. They are the worst of creatures. I don't know how you misinterpret that. Then you go to verse 7. The verse 7 says, but those who believe and do right, and surely the best of created beings. So if you believe, those who believe in what? Believe that Allah is God, Muhammad was their messenger, you are the best. They are the worst of creatures, and you are the best of created beings. The worst of creatures, the best. If you are the best, what can you do to the worst? Anything that you want to.
And I hear you, because this is the Salafi reading. But let's look at what
that's what it says. That's not a Salafi reading. That is what that's what the text says.
So this is let's look at what the text says here. It says, "Indeed, those who disbelieve from the people of the book and the polytheists will be in the fire of hell. To stay there forever, they are the worst of all beings." Okay, let's do deconstruction. Those who disbelieve from the people of the book, what does that mean? Which people? It didn't say all the people of the book. It says those who disbelieve.
I am a
what?
Christian. I am a Christian. I am a person of the book, and I do not believe Muhammad was a prophet for a minute.
But the text doesn't say believe in Muhammad. It just says disbelieve. It doesn't say. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Unbelievers in what? If you are
That's the problem.
from the
That's what I'm trying
book,
to tell you.
you are from the book. You believe in God. You believe that Jesus Christ is God. You are an unbeliever in Islam. You're not. You don't follow Muhammad. That's what they're talking about. That's clearly what they talk about. Read the tafsir. Read what.
That's the point. You have to read it exegesis.
Read all those
What I'm trying to tell you. I'm telling you, what does the text say without exegesis? You don't know. That's what I'm trying to tell you. My point stands on this. Indeed, those who disbelieve from the people of the book, I don't know. Disbelieve what? It doesn't tell you. The text doesn't tell you what they disbelieve in. And disbelief from the people of the book, which people? No.
You sound like Daniel in that debate. You sound like Nadir.
Well, but what I'm trying to challenge.
What is marriage? Were you there? That's what you sound like. Come on.
But what I'm saying fairly is this text can't be read literally, because it proves my position that this is a.
Why can't it be read literally?
Huh?
Why can't it be read literally?
Because what does it mean? Like, let's just read it. Indeed, those who disbelieve from the people of the book and the polytheists will be in the fire of hell. What does that mean? Disbelief.
I'm not going to hell because I don't believe Muhammad was a prophet.
But it doesn't say it there, though. That's what I'm trying to tell you. It doesn't say specifically anything you just said.
Who is going to hell?
Who
is going to abide in the fire of hell?
I don't know. The text doesn't tell me.
It says you right before that. It says they will abide the people of the book. The people
disbelief from the book
who don't believe in Muhammad, the unbelievers.
It doesn't say that.
Hell. It does too. It says it right there. The people of the book are going to hell.
No. What I'm saying is believing in Muhammad. That's not in the text. It says,
you're an unbeliever. What are you supposed to believe in?
That's what I'm trying to tell you, brother. This is the point I'm making to you. We don't know what the text is actually saying. People are telling us what the text means, but you can't literally read the text. That's what I just showed it to you, and that's proof. It says, indeed, those who disbelieve from the people of the book and polytheists will be in the fire of hell to stay forever. They are the worst of all beings. I don't know what is the criterion of disbelief, which people from the people of the book, what does it mean? I have no idea. It doesn't tell us. That's what the point. It's just you can't read it. Like you said, you have to go to an exegesis to make that argument. You can't take it from the text itself. It doesn't tell us what the disbelief means and what the criterion of disbelief is. So that's all I'm saying, This is why I'm saying you can have all these different variants of Muslims, because they all read the text and have vastly different feelings of what this text means, because it's so vague. The text is vague. It is not clear. So when people say, well, the text is clear in what way? It's not clear at least in the way that we understand. If you're saying, oh, it's clear about God is one, okay, maybe you could make that argument, but it's not clear in I can read it and understand it, Do you get what I'm trying to say?
I understand what you're trying to say, but everybody who reads this, all of the commentators who read this say that it's the Jews and the Christians who are going to hell. It says that the Jews and the Christians are that are not following Muhammad. Let's see. Allah informs of what will happen to the wicked disbelievers among the people of the Scripture and the idolaters who oppose the Allah's divinely revealed books. Who? Those who oppose Allah's divinely revealed books. What is the divinely revealed book? And the prophets whom He sent. He says they will be in the fire of hell on the day of judgment. They will abide there forever. This means they will remain in it and have no way out, and will not cease being in it. I don't know how you get any clear. If you are not believing in His divinely revealed book, what is divinely revealed book? The Quran. If I don't believe in this, I'm going to hell. I'm going to be in the fire of hell, and I am the worst of creatures. That's Kathir. I mean, that's the most trusted one. Go to Ibn Abbas, who was a contemporary. Wasn't he the nephew or something of Muhammad? Something on
But
that.
you have a problem then, because that would contradict Surah Al-Baqarah, Surah 2, verse 62, which says, "Indeed, those who are Jews, Christians, and Sabians who truly believe in God in the last day." It doesn't say believe in the Prophet of Islam. It just says believe in Allah in the
Who
last
says
day.
this?
They will have their reward with the Lord. So that would be problematic. And then you could argue and say, well, the Quran contradicts itself. But the problem is, and I argued that against Junior when I was debating Junior. I'm like, dude, the Quran says this. If you don't like what the Quran says, that's fine. You want Islam to be exceptionalist. The Quran doesn't say that. Or you could say the Quran says it in one place and doesn't say it in another place, and it contradicts itself. If you want to make that argument, say the Quran contradicts itself.
Okay.
All right,
Ibn
fine.
Abbas. Ibn
Wait,
Abbas.
wait.
Ibn Abbas.
Wait,
said-
hold on. Let me quick. Issa, you retired Junior. I'm just saying. He was the great white hope for Islam, for the Dawah, and you retired him. I'm just saying.
I think David and I did a good job. I think we won our case. And they don't like it. They didn't like it. But
Okay.
Yes.
Lo, those who disbelieve. Ibn Abbas. Disbelieve. Disbelieve in what? In it says, Ibn Abbas says, those who disbelieve in Muhammad and the Quran. That's who the disbelievers are. And yeah, that's who the disbelievers. So if you do not believe in Muhammad and you do not believe in the Quran, you are a disbeliever. Where are you going? You're going to hell. And what are you? You're the worst of creatures.
I'm saying, brother, I hear you, but then that would contradict Surah 262, which does not say you have to believe.
What does 262 say? Tell me what 262 is. I don't know this off the top of my head.
262 says, "Indeed, the believers, Jews, Christians, and Sabians, whoever truly believes in Allah on the last day, not Prophet of Islam, and does good, will and have reward with their Lord. There will be no fear for them, nor will they grieve." So that's a different.
The Quran contradicts itself.
And I think if a Christian wants to argue that, I think if an apologist wants to argue, they can. I'm just saying that the Quran also does make a perennialist position, at least for Jews, Christians, and Sabians. It does give that position. So it's difficult. I hear your understanding. I get your argument for it. I'm just like, if the Muslim is going to make that argument saying they're superior to Christians, Jews, and Sabians, then they're going to have to contend with 262. And that's the thing. And then the same thing is say, well, the Bible is corrupt. Well, the Quran says it's not corrupt. So if you want to just say the Quran contradicts itself, that's okay. But I think what a lot of Muslims doing, particularly the Salafi movement, is that they want to take, I don't know how to put this, the most barbaric position that you can find within the Islamic perspective that makes them the best people. And I think that's what they're doing. And they're not winning. They look quite bad, and if they think they're making Islam look good, they're making Islam look horrible. So,
Malduty is agreeing with me.
Well, and I'm not saying that it's not. I'm saying you could say, well, that's scholars who are taking that position. I get what you're saying. I'm just saying from reading the text itself, that was my argument. If you read the text in and of itself, you don't know what the text is saying. So, it could mean a lot of things.
What the text is saying, when I did read it by myself, and then I went to their commentators to see what their commentators had to say, and their commentators are saying, yeah, you're right, Kafir. That's exactly what it says. Those who do not believe in the Quran or do not believe in Muhammad, they are the disbelievers. What's going to happen to disbelievers in Muhammad or the Quran? You're going to hell. And what are you? Well, you're the worst of creatures.
I don't know how you would get that reading, though, because it wouldn't make sense to me, because if that's true, if Jews and Christians are going to hell and they're not going to have salvation, then why even have them pay jizya? Why have them live? Like, what happened to the polytheists?
Why have them pay? Are you kidding me? Why? What?
Hear me out here.
Why not extort them and
You're missing the argument.
Them and make them serve as second-class citizens?
Why not do that to the polytheists too, though? Why not include the polytheists in this as well? Why were the polytheists wiped out? It's because the polytheists don't have salvation.
Well, no. Now you're going
to that narrative.
Because they did. When they went into India, they sacked just about every single Hindu temple that they came across and killed as many Hindus as and they finally just got tired of killing so many millions of Hindus. They said, stop killing these people. Let's make them dhimmis. Let's make them pay us money. Let's take from them what they earn, and they did. So initially, they were doing it, but then eventually they stopped.
But what was the argument for it? The argument was that they became people of the book. That's the position. The
No,
Hindus.
that wasn't.
Oh,
That's
it
not.
was.
That
That
was.
is the scholarly position. You can look it up. They were considered people of the book. They wouldn't be able to.
They
Why?
can. They
Why is
consider
Arab indigenous
Hindus people
religion
of the
not
book.
exist? That's an important question you need to ask. Why does the Arab indigenous religion not exist? Why don't we have texts from indigenous Arab tradition? We don't. We have maybe Umar al-Qais, we have his poetry, but we don't really know much about Arab indigenous religion from their point of view. Like, for example, we can talk about, we know about Norse religion, we know a little bit about Celtic religion from like Europe, we know about like indigenous European traditions from that space. Like if you read Beowulf, you can learn about like ancient Celtic tradition. You get what I mean? Before Beowulf becomes a Christian, but you can learn a little bit about the indigenous European religions, right? What do you know about indigenous Arab religion? Not much, right? You know about, Allat, Al-Manat, Al-Uzza. That's about it. You don't know much more. Hubal. You
Well,
don't know
we know
about
that Muhammad bowed down to them, and that's what the Satanic verse is about. That's what we know. We know that. I'm looking at this, and it says that. Okay, my question was: did Muslims consider Hindus people of the book?
Hello? Did
Oh,
I
I
lose
lost
you
you.
all? No,
I
Eric.
think you lost it.
We lost Eric, dude. We lost Eric.
Well, but you've heard about this, Rad, right? Didn't you hear that Hindus were considered people of the book as well? That's why this happened. That's why they were got
No,
an
actually,
exemption.
I've never heard that. I never heard that
Really?
Hindus got an exemption, as actually the conquest of India by Muslims proved. They were killing so many Hindus and converting so many to Allah's cause because of the killing and the persecution. They had to put an end to it. No, they had to put an end to conversions because they were losing so much on the what do you call it? The Himmy tax, dude. That's what I heard. No, I heard the conquest of India was more brutal than the conquest of Spain when it comes to the killing. I mean, they butchered.
I'm not denying that. I'm just saying that the rule. Why did it stop? You can't charge jizya to polytheists. You
Right.
know
Well,
that.
no, that no. Well, that's the thing. Okay, they had to put a stop to it.
But how did they put a stop to it, though? They had to make them people of the book. That's the point of
Oh,
what
I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. Well,
they got deemed as people of the book because you can't do it.
oh, really?
Polytheists don't get that. Polytheists don't get that exemption. You know.
That's interesting. No, you'll have to like. I'm sorry. I was like talking with Anthony Rogers. So you and Eric were going off in this debate, and I was talking to
Well, we
Anthony
were having a
Rogers.
conversation. Yes. We were,
Conversation, whatever. Okay, a conversation. So I'm sorry, but I was only like ear in, half ear in. You know
half
what I mean?
listening. No, I get you.
Yeah. So no, so you have to cite me those sources on it. But no, I do know they put a stop to it. Okay, of converting Hindus. Okay, to Islam because they were losing, like you said, they were losing out on the jizya. You know what I mean? It was all of a sudden, it was not economical just to kill millions of people. Go figure. It takes a cost. You know
Well,
what I
and
mean?
there's also a problem too because you can't like the Quran says la ikraha fi din, which means there's no compulsion in the religion. So you can't actually force people to become Muslim according to the jurisprudence. You can what you can do is you can put like you call it coercive type of tactics. Like for example, you have to pay taxes and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of people did convert to Islam because they didn't want to pay taxes, and the
Or be killed.
jizya was problematic. It's a very problematic thing. So
Right, right, right. Well, before Eric comes back, if he does come back, I don't know. I think I can. Yeah, I can close the show. I do want to talk to you about this
of course,
regarding the
ask me about
rehab
anything.
thing. He lost power. He says. Okay. But not tonight. We should set up a time, a definite schedule. We can discuss this. My plan. I actually have my plan all in not PowerPoint, but in Excel spreadsheets where I document the cost. Okay, of actually this program of literally taking people off the street and putting them into rehab and sentencing them to a life, sentencing to life. I mean, life of recovery, where you are fully monitored, dude. Okay? Now, don't get me wrong, after 5 years, if you complete the goals, yes, that monitoring reduces. You know what I mean? But it has to be constant follow up, dude. Okay? Like you said, your buddy, right? They went to. How did your buddy go to a rehab, dude? Did he volunteer?
No,
Was his parents and family?
no, he was forced to go.
Okay, that's good. Okay. How long did he spend in it?
It may have been weeks. I went to visit him there a couple times.
Yeah,
So,
no, 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 no. Again, 30 to 60 days, just full detox, no contact with anyone. You can provide medications for the older, the longer, but no, the best course, especially for the young, off of this fentanyl and this heroin, dude, because I know people gotten off of it young age, don't get me wrong, okay, is they vomit, they puke, they sweat it out, and they clean up their vomit and they clean up their puke, okay, and go through it. It takes 74, 72 hours to, a week, but then still you have to constantly, and then you nurture them back, okay, all right. After that initial 30-day rehab hardcore, where you just purge that crap out of your system, then you rebuild them up in the psychological basis. Do you see what I'm saying? The reinforcement. Again, that's another 6 months, dude. And then you put them in like an assistant living, okay? Where they relearn social skills, job skills. Others will come back faster than others. You know what I mean? Okay? Boom. And also then there's job training, everything like that. But it is constant monitoring, constant drug tests, okay? The more freedom you give them, the more drug tests they have to take. And if they fail, they go back to phase one. You know what I mean?
I
Until
hear
eventually, until eventually it's like, dude, what am I doing here? You know what I mean? Do you see what I'm saying?
you. I understand.
Constant, yeah, constant follow up. But I figured it out. I'll shut the government out. So it's $90,000 according to my AI sources, my AI slaves, I like to call them. It's $90,000 for 1 year of this level of treatment. That's a dude. Do you know how much money a single addict takes off of our system in a year? With the hospitalizations, especially as they get older, the older they get on this crap, the emergency room visits, it's over $1 million per addict. It's horrendous the cost that is being put on us. Not to mention the fraud of the NGOs. No, seriously, I got a hardcore. It's hardcore, dude. Okay? And it is not, well, we'll just wait till it's your time. It's never their time. And even if it is their time, even if they get sick and tired of being sick and tired, they go up and they say, hey, Mr. Police, not Mr. Policeman, Mr. Agency, I want to go into rehab. And guess what? The agency says, well, as soon as we get a bed in 72 hours, we'll let you know. By that time, the dude's gone and high again. You know what I mean? So you know what I mean? No, again, there is a small window. That's why I'm actually developing an app right now. I really am doing this, okay? Where it will tie in all the rehab beds, all the city, state, government funding, charity funded rehab beds, where they can post, okay, to this app, okay, how many beds they have open. So if you're out there on the streets and you see a dude, he comes up to you, I'm sick and tired, I want to get clean. You can go to the app and you can say, okay, we got a bed available right now, let's go. Send the van. You see what I'm saying?
I
Does
hear
that
you.
make sense? Yeah, I am actually working on this. I just got to get access to certain databases, which they don't give me access to. So we'll see. Anyway, bro, let me see what.
And I hear you. It's just that's I think it's a lot of work and it's difficult. I think we just need nuance in all of this stuff, like with Islamic studies, with history. I get it, like I get the passion and feeling, but I think we need to have nuance too. I always promote that. And even if you believe in a certain kind of spirituality, you can still have that kind of space. You know what I mean?
Right, right. No, no, I agree with you. But no,
You get
I
my
do
point.
want to
You get
discuss
my
this. No, no, I do. Honestly, I do. And but I do want to discuss this other thing. Anyway, I just heard from Eric. He lost power. He's trying to figure it out. So we're gonna end the show.
Okay.
I hope you all enjoyed it. Again, seriously, listen to this debate. Well, you can skip over Seal Edwards. He's
Can,
given.
can you message me the debate? I want to see it. I want to see.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'll give you the link. Yeah, but seriously, Anthony Rogers gives a seminary level, class one or zero. What is it? 100 level on the divinity of the Messiah in Jewish sources from the first century. It really is that good. Anyway, let me close this out.